Hey everyone, welcome to our podcast, Both Keys at the Same Time. I'm the Miserable Movie Man, and myself and my friend Don had so much fun, I think, on one of my previous videos, which was the best captain in a spaceship battle fight for Star Trek, that we decided to do a podcast together. Hopefully you guys will find it fun. We'll talk a bit about ourselves, and then we'll just do a quick intro for this podcast. I'll pass it over to you first, Don. Do you want to give a quick intro of yourself, and then we
Yeah,
can talk
hi
a little bit?
everybody. Hi everybody. Glad to see you again. So yeah, first things first, in the comments, if you can pick up where our title of our podcast is from, that'd be awesome.
I guess before you go into that, I'm going to do the impression. Or should we do the impression?
Yeah.
Both keys at the same time? Whoa.
Yeah, so he's Movie Man's wearing a t-shirt with a clue, so you can find that one from one of our favorite films ever, the most quoted probably film that we've went through in our lives. So yeah, my name's Don. So me and Movie Man have been friends for about, what would you say, is it 34 years? Yeah, about 34 years. So both of us grew up in the UK, in one of the
Maybe 35.
northeast. Yeah, maybe 35, yeah. We both grew up in the UK in the 80s and 90s. And one of the sources of our friendship was really kind of movies, comic books, and the usual what's now cool sort of geek culture. I can tell you it wasn't cool back then, that's for sure. But yeah, we used to spend our evenings, weekends, and especially the summer holidays, basically watching movies, reruns, reading comics if we had the chance. Movie Man's a much bigger comic book guy than me in one sense. He had a better collection. And before Comic Con and stuff, you didn't really have access to a lot of that stuff in the UK. So it was mostly just the two of us talking amongst ourselves, and occasionally we'd meet someone that might be into the same sort of thing as us. So, our love of movies and movie quotes and comics and all that kind of stuff really stems from there. So, I suppose in one sense we're sort of typical Gen Xers. We're into like a lot of the same stuff and have a lot of nostalgia for a lot of those older TV series. Although we both kind of try and keep up with the current sort of movie scene. Movie Man obviously is very into kind of the specifics of filmmaking and script writing, and I tend to have a bit more of a sort of common take on a lot of these things. So I think, yeah, we hopefully this podcast we can just talk about the stuff that we like really, and hopefully it rings with people like us really.
Yeah, I guess I'll add that as Don mentioned, one of the key things that we have is a shared sense of humor. We would watch a film, and generally people would say, "Yeah, that was a good film. It was reasonably funny in some parts." But I think for the two of us, and maybe there's more people like us out there are specific things that we find absolutely hilarious that either glossed over, or maybe people haven't really listened to, or perhaps it's just us that finds them funny. So, just little things, little lines, little in terms of the way that people, actually deliver them. I mean, we wanted to call this podcast "What Do You Think, Jeff?" And we settled on we settled on both keys at the same time.
Yeah.
But again, that's pretty much an example of watching a movie and just finding the little things in the background funny. I think in the future we should do an entire episode devoted to Mr. Lin from Bloodsport, because that guy is the most
Legend.
eminently watchable person in any of Jean-Claude Van Damme's films. Not
He's an
not
awesome
just
character.
yeah,
Awesome.
not just what he says, but just the raw kind of Shatner level facial acting going on in the background. That's what it is. That's what it
He's
is.
brilliant because he's just like this skinny Asian in a shell suit and aviators and a
Yeah,
mullet.
yeah,
I mean, that
yeah,
tells you almost all you need to know about this dude. But
yeah.
I've always thought that, for example, that he should have a show of his own,
He
like
should have
or
should
a
have a film
version
of his
like
own.
the Adventures of Mr. Lin. He was just awesome.
He's
So
awesome. Even just the way he punches in the background when Van Damme's fighting, he's doing the punches as if he's there on the mat with him. But yeah, we pick up on a lot of these little things. We see sort of the background stuff. We find lines funny, and I think we have I mean, I guess as you said, it's more of an older take on things. We were around when, you know, you had to wait for TV shows, you had to wait for films. We didn't have so much on-demand stuff, any
Yeah.
on-demand stuff when we were kids. But I guess, yeah, we wanted to do this just because we enjoy talking crap about movies and TV and comics. And I think when we talk with each other, we have a good time chatting, and maybe people enjoy listening to us as well.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll bring a different take to it. So apart from just watching it and laughing at stuff and just generally, you know, cocking around, I think we do have a fairly detailed take on a lot of things. Again, as I said, Movie Man, it will always, he's very good at specific kind of bits of law or filmmaking or cinematography and things like that. Whereas I was often also quite interested in the underlying storylines and lore as well. So we've both got, I think, we feel it's a unique take, but perhaps it's just the one that's not as popular. You know, I think the one that's caused us the most amount of kind of what's the word, blowback is kind of, you know, our view of like Nolan's Batman versus Batman 89. You know, and for me, you know, it's 89 all the way. But again, a lot of people will feel that a lot of Nolan's take on Batman was lore based, and it really wasn't. Like, hardly any of it was in many
Yeah.
ways. So I
Well,
think we
we're
do
gonna do
have our
another.
take on it.
Yeah, we're gonna do another episode based on that. And I guess we can really go into a lot of detail. But I think maybe for this one, we'll just kind of start with a quick introduction. But you did send me that fan video of Batman Reanimated, so I watched that. That was pretty cool. I mean, I know they took sort of still grabs of maybe still grab that there was animated by AI of Keaton and Nicholson in that, but I think it was pretty cool the way they sort of had the lighting in that, the way that they even the sound effects, right? When he's so in that scene where he's building the prison and the signal goes off for the bat signal. That's the sound effect from the '60s Batman show, the Red Phone. So and then he gets
Yeah,
inside the Batmobile and it says atomic batteries to power, turbines to speed. That was pretty cool. But
yeah,
it was well
it's
made,
not,
very well made.
it's very well made. It's obviously a guy that actually is a big comic book guy, because I think, can you remember that prison kind of scene is probably sort of taken from the one, I can't remember the name of the storyline particularly, but when Bruce Wayne becomes addicted to drugs and he kind of goes, can you
He
remember?
goes
He
nuts.
basically goes cold turkey, locks
Yeah,
himself in
it's
that
called
thing.
Batman the Cult. That's the
That,
4 issue
yeah.
miniseries.
Can you remember
It's
that? So that really
Bernie
reminded me.
Wrightson.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So I thought of that scene of that, but except that instead of Bruce kind of welding the thing, it was Alfred standing there.
yeah, exactly.
And again,
And that was good, right? Because that comic series did show him using guns, showed him being broken, showed him sort of overcoming all of that.
showed him
So
overcoming all of it.
yeah,
Like that's the thing, right? And then I think
yeah,
that's the thing that, you know, always irks me about kind of the Dark Knight trilogy. I did actually like the films. Like I did like it, but I just didn't feel they were very good Batman films. That's both of our kind of
yeah.
points.
And then I said the same thing. I think the first video I did on YouTube was about that and why I thought they were well made, well acted, but not good Batman films. But what I liked about that animated show was the animated Batman Reanimated little fan film that you sent me was there were so many nice little scenes of just in terms of the way he used the shadows, similar to the way Burton used shadows,
Yeah,
the sort of shots which linger on the face, which I thought were pretty cool. I mean, it helped. He didn't have to animate the face that much, right? But he had just a few sort of eyes blinking and stuff. He got the Joker's laugh in, and he altered the voice obviously with when Bruce sees Joker in the cell. But it was very cool seeing Jack's version of the Joker because yeah, that's my favorite screen version to date. I think that's probably the most comic book accurate version.
100%, 100%. I think on the face of it, I think Jack Nicholson Joker was, because of Burton's kind of actual comic book noir style. I think it gets missed how sinister Jack Napier actually was.
Yeah.
And actually, what I loved about it was that he was having fun and laughing at the same time. So he had that part of the Joker's character, which was the joke. Yeah, and which was missing from Heath Ledger for me. Again, Heath Ledger, it was good. It was a really good performance. I liked it, but he wasn't funny. He
Well, he
was like,
wasn't a
he
Joker,
was
really.
crazy.
I think to me, he's kind of Joker in name only, but we could talk about that again in another episode. But then,
Yeah.
similar to the Batman one you sent me, I saw the Star Wars trailer, that Dark Jedi little small.
How good was the choreography in that?
So what I say, the choreography was absolutely awesome. For all of
They spent that. How come they couldn't get that level of choreography? How come they
well,
couldn't get that level of choreography in, like, the sequels? And sort of that's why I sort of wanted to send you that thing about the fan fiction stuff, because with AI and all these kind of tools that are available now, it's amazing what people can come up with. That is kind of a bit more law based, but actually people do change it. They make their own stories, and some of them are brilliant. Like the fight choreography in some of these kind of lightsaber duels are just
well, it wasn't
awesome.
just the fight choreography. There was a video, and I can't remember the name of the fan made video, but it was about 6-7 years ago, maybe even less than that, where they just did a space battle. They did X-wings against TIE fighters, and it was one of the best space battles I've seen. It was as good as anything Lucas did. And I guess coming back to choreography, one thing I'll say is for all of the people that bashed the crap out of the Acolyte, and I'll admit it was a bad show. I actually thought the lightsaber fighting in the Acolyte wasn't that bad. It was kind of, at least I thought the sort of lightsaber battles were better staged in the Acolyte than Ahsoka and Kenobi. Not to the level of this fan fiction or fan made a piece of video.
I
But
mean,
I
when
thought the
we're
fighting was quite
talking,
good.
yeah, when we're talking about the acolyte, I think um I've forgotten his name now, but the Dark Jedi was good. Like I
Kimir.
like his style of fighting.
Yeah, his name was Kimir.
And what's his name? The other Jedi Master. Yeah, pretty good. Like, there's a few of the old Aikido elements in there. It was okay, but just the entire kind of premise of the whole thing just detracted from it. It was just so.
Yeah, I bashed it, but I didn't think. I will say, and I said it on a video of mine, like the Acolyte is bad, but I can't believe people think it's worse than the holiday special. I
The
can't believe people have said it's worse. Have these
holiday
people
special was
seen?
tripping, man.
Have people
Listen,
seen the holiday special?
no,
Have
most people
they
haven't seen it.
seen
It is crazy.
like exactly? Watch that. See how disjointed it is. Low special effects, which is fine, but just crazy stuff going on in it. And then watch the Acolyte, and at least the Acolyte has got some level of clearance. Yeah, it's got witches being, like crazy with coven sort of singing that doesn't really sound great, and there's a lot of wokeism. But the
Yeah,
holiday
well,
special
that was
is
the main
worse.
problem, right? But I don't think it was just the acolyte. I think it was a build up over time, and
Yeah,
people finally had enough, and it kind of all got spilled onto that, and then all these other famous YouTubers, were hammering it. Now, I do
well,
think
I
it
was one of
needed
the
to be hammered because it broke fundamental kind of core values of the Jedi, for example. So the idea that several Jedi Masters would do something wrong and just lie about it and just carry on like nothing happened is a bit weird. Like from my perspective, it's not that they couldn't do that. It's not that the Jedi Order was not capable of that, because it was. Because ultimately, there's always been this uncomfortable sort of truth about the Jedi actually being soldiers in some fashion, right?
yeah.
Which is kind of counterintuitive to what they are. But this was an extreme level of, yeah, just lying, basically, of corruption, and then also they a lot of them were quite stupid. I mean,
Well, the ones that were shown in the show, those primary four were quite stupid, and I think to your point, I agree with that. I think it did show the Jedi in a poor light. I'm not defending it in any way, but I think Leslie Headland was trying to start sowing the seeds of the Jedi's sort of hubris in there, right? I think that she was trying to showcase a human side of the Jedi that maybe we hadn't seen before. But I don't think it worked well.
See,
I was
yeah, sorry,
I
Karen.
was I was rooting for Saul until I realized how stupid he was, and at that point, I'm like, no, you deserve everything you get, because I thought there was something redeemable about him, but it turns out it wasn't. He was just all too human.
My problem with the whole thing was like, I agree, like, fine. I think there's a real place for that kind of storyline of seeing the, breakdown and corruption of the Jedi Order, but it was just done in such a clumsy kind of way of, I mean, whether people are aware of it, it was clearly kind of this postmodernist narrative on institutional patriarchy, basically. That's basically what it is, right? And it was obvious. And because of that, it when that becomes one of the underlying things that you're trying to say, you miss kind of character development or plot development, because that it becomes like it's so clumsy. It's, it had to be like, so for example, the Coven of Witches, basically creating ultimate force beings. Like, why did it have to be done in that way? What they could have done, for example, is, use the Night Sister storyline and all of that, and maybe the
Yeah,
Mortis God in some way, in a much cleverer way. But it was so obviously, you know, that it was that whole thing of the Force's female agenda that they had, which in one sense I don't have a problem with. But I've said that we've discussed this so many times. There's so many amazing female characters and Jedi in Star Wars canon anyway, right? Why not just do that? Right? It's not the fact
yeah.
that Rey was female or that, it was actually just a shit character, you know. It wasn't developed properly, or it had none. So, for example, if you go, pre that, it had none of the nuance of Leia, for example, even in just those three films, the 4, 5, and 6. Or if you looked at Padme, throughout the Clone Wars series, you know,
Well, not just Clone Wars. In the prequels, she was a very, there were lots of sides of her character, and she had a strength of conviction in the prequels that was very appealing to the wider audience. Maybe they did save a bit of money on the special effects. If you're going to go with Witches of Dathomir, then you are going to have to spend a bit of money on all of the the SFX paintings of faces as a coven. Could have saved them a bit, but I think she to what you she whatever they were doing, they took stuff in the Clone Wars and thought, how can we make this serve our agenda in the way that they portrayed it? The concepts I thought were interesting, right? I thought the concepts were interesting, like people using the Force in a slightly different way, slightly different view of the Force. But again, I thought the execution was bad. I thought it
yeah,
was
it
too
was, it was
in
very
your
bad. Like I
face,
said, yeah, you're
heavy
right.
handed.
You're right. So there's lots of um, ideas or precedent for using the Force differently, right? Like the Bendu, right? In Rebels. That was an interesting character, wasn't it? That was different. Like,
Mm.
even the Mortis Gods kind of stuff, that was interesting. That was all good. And I just thought it's it was just very lazy. It angered everybody, I think. And I think it was just
Yeah,
one more thing of like I said, I don't think it was the be all and end all worst thing ever, because I watched it and I was like, yeah, it's okay. I won't watch it again.
exactly, exactly. It's
You're
not as
right.
bad as the
You're
holiday
like whining
special.
about my cornflakes about it. Like,
How are they going on that this is the worst Star Wars ever? Yeah, it's bad, but like I can't believe it's so severely chastised by people. You know.
like I said, I think it was just the spill over from all the kind of. I do think it's a cultural thing of, ultimately, essentially men being downplayed or excluded from the storyline, or always been shown to be like, useless.
Useless.
Yeah. So eventually, and ultimately, I think the mistake is that ultimately Star Wars, and a lot of these sorts of things are predominantly, and it doesn't mean, I think it should be exclusively that way, but it's predominantly fan base is male and watched by men and young boys from that time. So I think that was just a mistake. But again, I feel like it was that agenda that cocked it up. It wasn't the fact that it was all. I mean, how, like I said, Mara Jade Walker, what an amazing character. Sorry, Mara Jade Skywalker from the Zahn series, right? Could have used her, right?
Yeah,
And
but I mean, I think
you know,
Lucas has said he doesn't like Mara Jade. He's come out and said that that's one character he did not want Luke
yeah,
to.
I liked her though. I mean, I thought
Yeah,
that was
I mean,
interesting.
no, she's a brilliant character, but if you go by the creator, right, he wasn't a fan of having Luke take a wife and have it continue that way. But I think that would have pleased the fan service. They tried to throw Plagueis in there, Plagueis right at the
Could have
end.
been good. This is the thing. It could have been really cool,
Yeah,
but they cocked it
well, we're
up.
never going to get to see it. I guess they're not going to make season 2
Well, I think there's a lot happening, right? I think the Ray film has been put on hold
on
and
hold. Yeah,
or stopped even, because I think the new trilogy is going to be nothing to do with the old characters and fairly far in the future. I think I read
but
that
didn't
somewhere.
they? Didn't at one point they say they're going to go back to Lucas and let him do it again? I don't know if he's going to even want to do it, but I think there's
I
some
don't know. He's
rumors he's
too
going to get
old.
involved. But anytime, so when I play Lego Star Wars with Arjuna, at the end of the Skywalker saga, it's got Rey saying, "I need someone to show me my place in all this," and I just put on a little Oliver Twist voice at the end because she just said, "So, Master Skywalker, I need someone to show me my place in all this. Master Skywalker, can you help me?" It just there was such a, I don't know, when she speaks in the sequels, it just sounds ridiculous to me. Just the more she speaks, she either speaks fast or too slow. There's no kind of in between. Well, there is an in between. It's her screaming, but either she's like arguing with Finn or Poe, or she's speaking very slow to Leia. Where am I going? What am I doing? But she sounds a little bit too much like Oliver Twist to me when she speaks.
Yeah, I
But
think
yeah,
again.
you're right. She was too much of a Mary Sue. It was really a ridiculous character to be that powerful that quickly, that early on,
The
without training.
element could have been good, right? Imagine like Palpatine's granddaughter and all this kind. It could have been good, right?
It
That's
could have been
it.
better if she was Kenobi's granddaughter, which was the original plan, daughter, right? Because I think there was some rumors that him and was it Duchess Satine
The
may have had some illegitimate baby or whatever it is. You know, they flip flopped so many times. I think even during shooting, Daisy Ridley said they hadn't told her, confirmed to her that she was Kenobi's daughter or Palpatine's granddaughter or whatever it was. You know, it's another thing. J.J. Abrams, another person that I initially liked a lot. I liked Alias. I thought he was very talented. Some of his early films are great, but again, he's kind of a paint by numbers, play by the book kind of guy. He takes something and he throws in his mystery box element or his lens flares, and that's about it. There's nothing really that original with anything that he comes up with. So when he came in to do 9, I knew that he was just gonna revert back to type, make it nice and easy, just tie a little bow on it, and not do anything that different. Yeah, I wasn't surprised by that. I think we've been talking for a little bit, and my battery's running low on this iPad. But you didn't see the Mission Impossible trailer, right? That is something I am very much looking forward to.
Yeah, I did. I watched the trailer.
Okay, you haven't seen Dead Reckoning Part 1.
No, I haven't seen Dead Reckoning Part One. No, not yet.
Yeah, you should definitely watch Dead Reckoning Part 1 because I think for me, Tom Cruise being, one of the biggest movie stars of all time aside, Mission Impossible is one of the few films still that comes out every so often and does exactly what you're hoping for it to do. It never strays too far from it. And when Mission Impossible 1 came out, I will say I liked it and didn't like it at the same time. There was so much about it to love, but the TV show was so brilliant in the way that it set up little situations of actual,
The TV show was
using
awesome. Yeah,
using ingenuity, using techniques, using all different sort of types of scenarios. And when I watched Mission Impossible 1, and especially Mission Impossible 2, because they let John Woo get hold of it, it just turned into a bit of a slugfest, a fight fest, a stunt fest. And don't get me wrong, I like fighting and I like stunts and I like people beating each other up. But I thought the ingenuity, I thought the using your brains part, using your smarts, that I thought that had gone a little bit from the
but
film.
also the different team members all having their own skill set.
Yeah, everyone has a skill set. I mean, pretty much Ethan's been using the same the same bloody team for the last 5 films. So it's not like he has to go through the dossier and pick anymore, and then decide who he's going to use. But I did like the trailer for Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning. I thought that is, I think they're gonna end it on that one, and probably Ethan Hunt's gonna die in the way Daniel Craig died with Die Another Day. No Time to Die. Not
No
Die Another
Time
Day.
to
No,
Die.
yeah, No
That
Time
was
to
a
Die.
funny ending as well. I just thought
Yeah, I mean, we should talk about Bond.
it kind of works in the context of his Bond, but it kind of takes away the magic of James Bond, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. If you went to a Bond film and you waited for that James Bond will return, and you kind of wanted to see who it was or whatever, how it worked. But Dead Reckoning Part 2 looks pretty good. I think they've got a few little nods to the old shows. I think the way that if you watch Dead Reckoning Part 1, they've tried to tie some of the old films in a little bit, which is good. It's got Tom Cruise running, as always. And this time it looks like he's not going to catch up to something. Yeah, exactly. The Tom Cruise run. Yeah, you got to do it. That's it. You got to head back a little bit.
Chest it's down. His chest is like going first.
Exactly.
Run fast for an old man, I'm telling you.
Run faster than me. I mean, he's like 20 years. He's got 20 years on me, and I can't run at all. But yeah, the first part I thought was very smartly written, because it came out just at a time when AI was really kicking off, but it had been written obviously before that. So it was pretty good to watch, and I'm looking forward to the trailer when let's see if everyone's actually dead. I thought you were going to do the line.
Oh, dead! They're all dead.
See, little things like this. What's the other thing we say from one? We say red light, green light. Yeah. In fact, did you name your son after Tom Cruise? Tom Cruise's character. Your son is named after Ethan Hunt, right?
Yeah. Don't tell him that.
Yeah.
Ethan Hunt is cool. Like I think when Mission Impossible first came out, you thought introducing this new character, and really, is that a good idea? Should they have just done him in that original sense? But actually, I think it's worked out really, really well.
Yeah, and if you look at the trailer, I mean, some of the stunts, I don't know how he's managed to top, the plane, and top being on the outside of the building, and top some of the flight sequences, but it looks like he's trying to put all of them in to this film. So it was pretty incredible.
He's great, isn't he? I mean, for me, I love Tom Cruise because I know he's crazy and he's Scientology and all that, but he's just like a proper movie star.
Yeah. The one thing...
real movie star. And he does a good job in almost all his films are amazing. In terms of they are what they are. They are what they are. They're like, for both of us, I think sometimes you don't want to watch these like you more so than me, but I'm nowadays I'm far less interested in really deep filmmaking. I just want to have a good time.
If it's a good film and it's really deep, I'd love to watch it. But those films are few and far between, and they try often and fail so hard. So as you said,
because they're very contrived, aren't they?
That's why I'd enjoy it. But I think the thing also amazing about Tom Cruise, if you watch interviews with him, a lot of these films, he has said, I've been dreaming of this stunt for years, or I've been thinking of this scene for years, and now I've got a chance to put it on film. And he really comes at it from the audience perspective. What would they want to see? How can he entertain them to us? How can he give them their money's worth? The one thing I didn't like about Mission Impossible 1 was the fact that they made Jim Phelps the villain. I was a big fan of Jim Phelps in the show.
Well, yeah.
Although when I was a kid, I had an idea for a Murder, She Wrote sequel series where Angela Lansbury is the killer. She's finally had enough of solving murders. So she kills somebody thinking she knows how to get away with it, and somebody catches her and they become the new sort of hero/heroine of the show. That was my kind of idea 30 odd years ago now, which they kind of took over for Mission Impossible 1, but I didn't like Jim.
I kind of agree, but I get it as well.
Yeah,
Jim Phelps was also had always had a hard edge to him.
He did, and he was the connection with the TV
show,
right?
Unemotional edge.
Yeah. It wasn't a huge stretch.
It wasn't a huge stretch. Yeah. Whereas Ethan Hunt, will never
break.
Yeah, he'll never become corrupt. But Jim, I wasn't that surprised in one sense.
I mean, the one thing with Ethan Hunt is you shouldn't get him upset. You don't want to see him upset.
You won't let me upset. You've never seen me very upset.
Never seen me very upset. You find something close to him and you squeeze.
Is Kittredge in this last one?
Yeah, he's in the last one as well.
There.
They brought him back. They brought Kittredge back. It's brilliant.
Excellent.
Great seeing him. Anyway, we've been talking for 30 odd minutes, and this iPad is literally about to die. Shall we sign off here as this introductory podcast, both keys at the same time?
Same time. By the way, in reference to what Gan said earlier, the other name we were thinking of was what do you think, Jeff?
Yeah.
That's a reference from a film called Rising Sun with Sean Connery and Wesley Snipes.
Yeah. Okay, we could talk about martial arts some other time. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed this. We're going to put it out on a few platforms and see what happens. But as you can tell, we enjoy talking about this stuff together, and hopefully you find it entertaining too. So catch us to the next one.
Yep. See you later.